And you are currently looking at the latest satellite imagery from our severe tropical storm in Jelawat or Tropical Storm Lawin, depending on what agency you're looking at. Lawin is what the Philippines are currently calling this. Now winds at about 50, gusting up to 65 knots. So at that severe tropical storm intensity. You're already bringing some heavy rains off towards the east coast of the Philippines. Have been seeing some reports in just a 6-hour span, especially here across portions of its size. Upwards of about 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall. Some dams already starting to see the overall reservoir level rise, but at least at this time here on the 22nd, no reports of any dams overtopping or of any major and significant flooding, but there is already reports of minor flooding in some low-lying areas on the sides of hillsides. The ground already starting to get loose here, so landslides are still going to be a major threat here as well. Now, good news, it does look like models are starting to slowly come together on the storm system and very well move it off here towards the north. Bad news, it's not going anywhere very fast. We can already see very good inflow coming in from the west here. Well, very bad inflow depending on how you're looking at this. Also, a little bit farther there towards the north, a very clear cyclonic circulation coming around it. I would not be surprised if this forms up a eye going into your Sunday. This very well could be a very strong tropical system, but it is not moving anywhere very fast as it slowly drifts off there towards the west. At this time, it does look like it should churn off towards the north, just like we were talking about yesterday, but the bad news, it's not really going to be far enough away from the Philippines to spare it from the heavy rainfall in these outer rain bands. So across much of the east coast here, even the west coast, you're going to be seeing some intense rainfall up to about 2 to 250 millimeters within 24-hour periods here. If you take a look at one of the model outlooks, this kind of describes exactly what I'm talking about. And we can see here with the GFS model initializing the storm system here on Saturday morning, and then it moves it off there ever so slowly towards the west, and then eventually veering towards the northwest going into the early part of next week. But as it does this, see all these outer rain bands, even some gusty winds hitting the coastlines. I actually wouldn't be surprised to see some gale force winds, and plus that inflow of moisture, not to mention the fact of the rough waves. I would honestly be rather surprised if we don't see any reports of any fishermen being missing out here or any boats capsizing. Already one boat capsizing and around Visayas. That was actually apparently due to engine malfunctions, but I think that if you see a boat capsize, it's likely going to be due to the weather here, so already seeing some reports of that. But as this continues to drag off there towards the north, it is then going to start to waver a little bit more towards the west due to this high pressure ridge over portions of the southern Japanese islands. So at least at this time, I feel very confident that across Okinawa, you could be ruled out of this tropical system and its effects. Maybe towards Taiwan, this very well could impact, but more and more being confident that northern Luzon, you're likely going to be seeing a landfalling tropical system here by the mid part of this coming week. And here's the current look actually from the Japan Meteorological Agency. Currently winds at 50, gusting 70 knots, but as right now it has been basically going towards the southwest, then stalling out here, and it really has been going against the forecast, and sometimes we do see that here across the Philippines. So I would not be surprised if it does continue on this track a little bit farther west before it finally makes that jog towards the north, and then eventually turns and very well could possibly affect the east coast of Luzon. That is not going to be ruled out here. I really do think that it's a likely scenario. So anybody across this entire area, even over towards Manila, do get ready for some risk of flooding and landslides here. Also, let's take a look at what the Joint Typhoon Warning Center is currently showing, with them showing the same intensity as the Japan Meteorological Agency, and actually very similar track, moving it off here towards the north, going into the early part of next week, then eventually veering off towards the west, going into Wednesday and Thursday, affecting the northern portions of Luzon. Once again, I do think that it might be a little bit farther there towards the south, depending on how far this tracks north before it hits that high pressure ridge over towards the southern Japanese islands out here in the Pacific Ocean. Now let's take a look at Pagasa, since we're looking around here, and see what they're currently showing. And thankfully they are also aligned here with the other agencies tracking this storm system off there towards the north. Eventually it should recurve, but they do not go out to 5 days. Just a 3-day outlook, but a guess the key thing to note right now, we were talking about it yesterday, is just the clear and slow movement of this storm system. But we have it right here. It is going to continue to grab that moisture across the Philippines, not to mention the waves that's going to be kicking out here towards the west. If you want to go surfing, that's an absolutely horrible idea. Some of these waves and rip currents are going to be very dangerous. Plus, fishing across much of the eastern seaboards out towards the Philippine Sea, I think throughout the weekend, going into early next week, I would just rule it out unless you are absolutely in a secure cove with no waves. I think that anything like that would just be very dangerous out across this entire area. But lastly, I will show you here the microwave imagery over the past 24 hours, and it does show a slowly organized storm system, but more importantly, its previous track, and at least at this time, just stalling out here towards the east of Asai. So you can see it moving on a southwesterly track. And then into the latter part of this frames here, you do see it just basically, actually right here, it stops and does not move very far, and that is its stationary motion at this point. But you see a lot of that convective activity already flaring up towards the western portion. Some of those could be running over land, and that's what's going to be bringing those rain showers and strong thunderstorms throughout the remainder of your weekend here across the Philippines. But that is all for right now, everybody. Thanks again for watching here at westernpacificweather.com. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please post them in the comment box below. Always appreciate your input here. And also, if you have any photos or videos, appreciate that feedback as well. Please check out our other channels, Weathercaster Pat being one of them, and the website at Western Pacific Weather. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Me here at Robert Speta or at Westpac Weather. So stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great day. Hope you have a safe weekend.